أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه. Assalamu alaikum, my dear friends. I hope you're well. So I'd like to have another look at the Salah, because this is an issue that is really fundamental to Muslims. And Muslims, wherever they are, find that their Salah is kind of like one of the root core elements of their religion. And so I'm going to take you through another little bit of a tour with me through a very, very important and core text of Islam. And this particular text I want to go through with you that covers the Salat is a very, very, very elemental and core text when it comes to the practice of Salah. Now, first of all, let me remind you that whatever we do, whatever you practice, we are not supposed to be a people of mythology, a people of legend, a people of, superstition. We are supposed to be as Muslimun, as mu'minun, as the Quran instructs us, is to base all our practices on what can be proven, what can be established. Now, there are two ways of establishing things in my approach, and that is we can establish it as a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His authenticated and authorized text, which is the Holy Quran, or we can deduce it from any rational, logical, reasonable argument or study, investigation, whether it is empirical or otherwise, and from which we can draw a position which is defensible in terms of logical, rational support. So those are the two proofs that I believe in. Right? So there are other ways of establishing practice, like ma'ruf, maslahatul am, that is what people in general have come to agree on as a consensus, and that would be something like protocols, driving on the left side of the road, having Eid or the moon sighting, whatever. I mean, those are all protocols that are sort of in the ambit of what is commonly agreed to by the people. Those are the types of proofs that we require, right? So, if we're talking about the Salah, then we also need proof. There's no getting away from proof. You cannot tell me that there is something that you have to do, but there's no proof. You just got to take my word for it. Now, yes, the Muslims, the Hadithists, the Salafists, whatever, they have produced proof. But I want to look at that proof that they've produced. Now, the proof that I'm going to look at is in the form of the four madhahib, right? So all the madhahib, the four madhahib that are well known, have written on the Salah. But in more recent times, there's been a book published by more contemporary scholars, because we need to always update our proofs. We need to have fresh proofs. We need to be, have a strong link to even arguments in the past. So in more recent times, there is a very prominent text which is used by the hadith followers or the traditionalists, which is called al-fiqhul islami wa adillatuhu. Now I'm going to show you this text quickly. This is what this text looks like, and there you can see there's the name, al-fiqhul islam wa adillatuhu. Now I'm using the Maktaba Shamila version, right? I have about 4,000 books on here, and it's just a much more convenient way to research Islam and the legacy and the traditions, etc. So what we have here is Al-Fiqh Islam wa Adillatu, which is a text that is software based, but is actually a book. And I did own this book. I had the book on my bookshelf, but about 10 years ago, I donated my entire library almost entire library. I have a few books left, to a institution, right? So I gave this set also away because I have it here. I don't have to travel so heavily. So what we have on the right-hand side here is the index of the book of Fiqhul Islam wa Adillatuhu. Now let me share with you let me just give you an indication what is going on here. Right. So the proof really of Islam, of the Salah in particular, would be in this section, Arkanu Salat أو فرائضها, the requirements of Salah. So in other words, the required elements in the Salah. Right. اختلف الفقهاء في تصنيف. So basically it separates the requirements of the Salah, and it actually will separate it into the Malikiya, what the Maliki Madhab people say, وقال Shafi'iyya, and what the Shafi'i people say, and what the Hanbali people say, and then of course what the the Hanafiya, the Ahnaf, the Hanafi people say. So let us look at Uqala Malikiya. Let's just quickly look at what the Malikis say. Arkanu Salat Aina Ghairi Hanafiya. Qala Malikiya, what you have here is Kama Zakara Alamat Khalil wa Shar. Kama Zakara Alamat Khalil wa Sharah Matnuhu. فرائض الصلاة 14 فريدة وهي النية وتكبيرة الإحرام. And so it goes on and it says the requirements of the Salah are 14. 14 فريدة وهي النية. So it is the niyat to explicitly state that you are going to perform the Salah. Takbiratul Ihram, to state, to lift up the arms and to say Allahu Akbar, in other words, and to place yourself in a state of holiness. And then it continues, wal qiyam. Right? So what happens is that this then, the text goes into detail of the proof of the elements of the Salah in terms of the Hanafiya. But I want to point you to this particular point here, because it continues and then it says, وَقَالَ الشَّافِعِيَّ أَرْكَانُ صَلَاةِ ثَلَاثَةَ عَشَرَ. So according to the Shafi'is, the requirements of the Salah is only 13. Right. And then وَقَالَ حَنَابِلَ, and then the Hanbali says أَرْكَانُ صَلَاةِ أَرْبَعَةَ عَشَرَ. The Hanabila or the Hanbalis, they say it is 14. Now the point I want to make with you here is the following. Arkanu Salat muttafaq alayha. The requirements of Salah in which there is agreement between the various madhabs. يلاحظ أن الفقهاء اتفقوا على 6 فروض. So the fuqaha, you will notice that the fuqaha, those scholars, they only agreed on 6 sitta furud or arkan. Only 6 of the requirements have they all agreed on. And those 6 are mentioned here. Tahrima, which is the qiyam of qiraat, it is the standing, it is the saying, it is putting yourself in a state of holiness, ruku, sujood. So the point I'm trying to make here with you, my dear friends, is that there are only 6 areas of agreement between these great and noble scholars as aspects of the Salah. In other words, when the Shafi'i says there are 13 aspects of Salah, and Hanbali says there are 14, and Malikis, they say there are 14, they only ever agree on 6. And so the question I want to leave with you is that there is no agreement amongst the top cream of the crop scholars on what the faraid of the Salah constitutes. Now let's quickly look at the proofs that they present then. So the first observation we make when we look at the deep books of proof about the Salah is that there is very little agreement on what the core essential elements of the Salah comprise of. That's the first thing we notice. And the second thing we notice is that there is no one single hadith or single sunnat that is in fact stipulating how to make Salah. Because if you look at all these chapters on Salah, it looks at arkans, which are basically the requirements of the Salah, and then it shows you about half of it they differ on. Then it will show you the prerequisites of Salah, and then it will come into the different aspects of the Salah, such as bowing, bending. But in no way here, and this is, you can exhaust this index because here the chapter on Salah actually ends. It ends here. Right? So you can read this entire chapter on Salah, and nowhere in this core Muslim text that is about the proofs of this practice called Salah is there any detailed synopsis or layout of what the Salah comprise of. So in other words, in the way that the Shafi'i or the Hanafi, there is no hadith that stipulates it in that exact format. So what happens is the Salah, the format that we use, is a construction. It is a construction by these scholars. It is an attempt by these scholars to take a bunch of hadiths, each one speaking about something else, and some of these hadiths would not even speak about a particular Salah. Some of these hadiths would say something very strange, like, look at this hadith here. I asked Aisha about the prayer of the messenger, may peace be, and she said the messenger of Allah would observe prayer in a standing position as well as in a sitting position. And when he commenced the prayer in a standing position, he bowed in this very position. And when he commenced the prayer in a sitting position, he bowed in that very position. So this is a hadith. How does this square off? So what they've done is, Sahih Muslim, they've just allocated this prayer to how a traveler should pray. Although the word traveler comes up nowhere in here. And my friends, after scrutinizing these books, after going into the core sources of what the Muslims believe and how they practice the Salah, all I can say is that there is nothing sacred. There is nothing sacred about the format of the Salah. Salah itself is a sacred institution. It is one of the core practices in the life of a Muslim. It is repeated and emphasized over and over and over in the Holy Quran. It refers to a system of connectedness, a system of being connected to the law, to the code, to God, to humanity. It is a system of being part of the world. It is anti-isolationism. It makes Islam an anti-hermetic religion. It makes Islam a religion that is socially present. The Muslim is a socially present person, not just socially present with his community, but spiritually present also. And so that is Salah. It is a person who is connected to the code, connected to the divine, connected to people. And yes, although we will have our regular formats or our regular sessions of illustrating our loyalty, our dedication in the form of a physical devotary session, the format of that session is in no way hard-coded. And that is just a fact if you look at the core texts.